Hello and welcome to the video for MG4. Make sure you're on the appropriate worksheet, and let's begin. So number one, they're going to give you the parallelogram formula and for area, and then you're going to solve it. This is pretty basic. Base times height. So some of you might already know this, but follow along because there's a very specific way to make it as mistake-proof as possible. So first, label your base and your height. That's the number one reason why people get mistakes on these kind of questions, is because they're not really multiplying base and height. They're multiplying height and something else, or base and something else. So the base, always go with the bottom. This one at the bottom. Base, basement, bottom, think about that. Now the height is not this. Okay, that's a kind of a hypotenuse, but it's irrelevant information. You don't need it for this problem in a parallelogram. This is your height. So 12 times 6 is what you're going to be multiplying. And 12 times 6 equals 72. And its area, so it's meters squared. Now, squared means, it just means you're finding area, not 72 to the second power. This is just the proper notation, because if you write meters with no 2, then you're talking about distance. The squared is the notation for talking about area. So just remember that. It's possible you might see something on a test where they might have 72 meters squared and 72 meters. And if you pick 72 meters, you will get the answer wrong. So be very mindful of that. I don't think you'll see any tricks like that, but it's possible. I've seen it. Next question. All right. Rectangle formula is area equals base times height. Just, if they give you the base and the height like they do in the practice problem, just multiply them and write your answer down. Do that on your own. You got it. Number 3, still pretty easy, slightly trickier, so I'll work through this one with you. Area equals base times height and divide by 2. Now remember PEMDAS. PEMDAS never goes away. I know this is geometry, but it doesn't matter. If you're ever doing anything at all with math, PEMDAS is always present. You always follow it no matter what. So, back to the formula here, base and height. Remember, bottom, basement, base. That's your base, because we're going to label the base and the height. And this is your height. Not this, not that. This is your height. From the lowest point to the tallest point. Imagine it like a tent. You find the tent pole, the pole that holds up the tent. That's the base. Even if, no matter where the tent pole is, wherever this line right here is, that's the height. I don't care if it's in the middle, to the side, wherever, that's your height. That's what you multiply. And now you go ahead and solve. So 12 times 9. Divided by 2. 12 times 9 equals 108. Divide that by 2, and you get 54 yards squared. Just like that. You just plug in the formula and follow it. So squares and rectangles, base times height, done. Triangles, base times height, divide by 2. Number 3, or sorry, that was 3. Number 4. Number 4, trapezoid area formula. Area equals base number 1 plus base number 2 times height divided by 2. So as a reminder, these subscripts are not exponents. Exponents go up top. These are subscripts, and think of them as ID tags. You're not doing any math, any special multiplying or dividing or anything as a result of these ID tags. They're just so you can separate, when there's 2 different bases, what base are we talking about? So we're going to label base 1, base 2, and the height. So let's go ahead and make this base 1 and make this base 2. So base, if you've only got one base, or the base and the height and the base 1 and base 2 are the same, you usually go at the bottom, like if it teaches you so far. But if the two bases are not the same, and that's going to happen in a trapezoid, then label 1 base 1 and label 1 base 2. It doesn't matter which. You could have base 2 here and base 1. It doesn't matter, just so that you tag them both properly with the correct tag. They're both bases, even though this is at the top, because the base can be considered the top also, but when they're different sizes, you tag them differently. Then the height. This is the height. Like I said before, these little hypotenuse things are not height. Don't do 6 plus 10 times 9. 6 plus 10 times, no. This little tent pole up and down going vertical, that is your height. Now plug in and solve. So base 1 we said was 6 plus base 2, which is 10, and parentheses, times the height, which is 5, and that's going to be divided by 2. So 6 plus 10 is 16. 16 times 5 ends up being 80 over 2. 80 divided by 2 equals 40 meters squared. And that's your trapezoid formula. Go ahead and start on the practice problems. If you have any questions, ask a neighbor, ask me, and you can always go back to the video as well. Thank you.